Italian food is all about tradition, simplicity, and authentic ingredients, and Italian cheeses are no exception. Today, we'd like to take you on a journey and discover 5 really classic Italian cheeses and deepen your appreciation of them. I'm joined by Holly, my co-host. Hi, Holly. And we are really excited to discover these cheeses with you. We have 5 cheeses, but there will be 2 variations on one cheese. So in total, we'll try 6 cheeses. Well, without further ado, let's dive right in. Are you excited?
Always.
Yes, always. Actually, I was going to ask you, you probably have been to Italy a lot. Do you have a favorite region?
Venice, of course, is probably up there, number 1. But I love the whole... Oh God! Right now, you're testing me now.
Well, keep thinking about it. It's a hard question. It's like asking somebody, "What's your favorite cheese?" Which we don't like. Well, I do happen to have a slight soft spot for one of the regions, Piedmonte, and that's where we're going with our first cheese. That's where I was kind of thinking. I wanted to say that I really enjoyed my visit to Piedmont a few years ago for a cheese festival, and this is where our first cheese is from. This cheese is called La Tour.
La Tour.
It is absolutely gorgeous. So we're starting with the soft cheese from the north of Italy. What's interesting about this one is that it's made with a blend of milks. So we've got cows, we've got sheep's, and we've got goat's milk all in one cheese. How clever is that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, La Tour maybe is not a name that's known to everybody. And if you're thinking, oh, it's not really kind of a name that I know, how is it a classic cheese? What I want to actually show here is a style of cheese called robiola. And that's a style that's very classic and typical of Italian cheeses. Robiolas are generally soft cheeses. They often are made with a blend of milks. And that's just to show kind of ingenuity of Italian cheesemakers, farmers, who, when they didn't have enough of one type of milk, they blended it with another, and they had enough to make cheese. So robiola style. We can see that texture-wise, this cheese, how would you describe it?
Well, it's very soft, isn't it? But interesting mixture of textures. It's slightly firmer on the inside. You've got that beautiful cream layer on the outside. Yeah. And then the rind is really interesting, isn't it? It's got that brain-like...
Yeah. Wrinkly. Yeah. Who said wrinkles are not beautiful? Just look at that. That's beautiful. The rind is edible, yes, and I love how you mentioned the 3 textures. I have to say the La Tour that we have today is quite young. It still has a long shelf life on it. And it's great to enjoy it when it's young, when it's a bit more ripe. At this stage, it will be probably a little bit lighter in flavor and nice and moussey. So let's have a little sniff as well.
It's very delicate. It's not particularly strong smell of anything, is it?
Very delicate, but I get a lot of kind of herbaceousness. There's definitely...
slight mushroominess on the rind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. And on the palate? That is creamy.
Very creamy.
Did you see how also light it is? Yeah.
Slight tang to it. Really nice texture.
Just kind of mouth coating, isn't it?
Mouth coating, yeah. Cheesy ice cream, it's known as, right?
Yes. I don't know if I've coined the phrase, or maybe I heard it somewhere, but I do like to call it cheesy ice cream.
Stuck, yeah.
It definitely stuck. So, like you say, delicate on the nose, delicate on the palate, with a bit of zing, a bit of herbaceousness. There is a bit of sweetness as well of all the milks. It's absolutely gorgeous. What would you pair it with?
What would I pair it with? Well, I know this is an absolute classic to pair with something sparkling. Seeing as we're in Italy, maybe a nice Prosecco of some sort. Would that work?
I think that would be just absolutely beautiful. Or a nice zesty white wine. So from the same region, Gavi di Gavi, that would work nicely. Generally, you want to start with pairing cheeses and wines using the principle what grows together goes together. But yes, you're absolutely right. I think Prosecco would be the just the ticket for this cheese. But nice, light, crisp white wine could do the job as well.
What I like about this cheese is it could, if you were just doing one cheese as a real showcase, centerpiece. It's got so interesting being the 3 different milks.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of a nice way to dip toe into goat's milk cheeses, because I know some people feel a little bit iffy about goat's milk cheeses. This is not strong. This is not farmyardy, kind of punch in your face, anything like that. Very delicate, very elegant. And like Holly says, it's like cheesy ice cream. Especially nice if you drizzle it with honey. So chestnut honey, if you want to upgrade that. So love this cheese. I've been eating it for years and decades, and I'm just so glad they make it. And the producer, actually, they're fantastic. They do love to embrace all of these old traditions and traditional cheese making with the philosophy of also bringing modernization into their cheese making facility. So they're great. Now let's move to another region, and we're actually staying still in the north of Italy. We're going to Lombardy. I've actually never visited Lombardy yet. Maybe something that I should explore. I hear many beautiful things. Taleggio, washed rind, cow's milk cheese. Now, this cheese, we are talking about centuries old traditions. It comes as a full square, and hence why we have a quarter of the square here. It's made with pasteurized milk and traditional rennet. The Italians don't like to mess about with traditions too much. That's why we don't have any vegetarian rennets today. Washed rind, that means that the cheese is washed with a brine solution on the outside, and hence why it has this orangey kind of color to its rind. And of course, on the aroma side, we'll detect that. Not too strong. I do have quite a small bit, but when we have a bigger bit, what I'm trying to say is that it's aromatic. It's aromatic, it's smelly. It's a little bit smelly. The rind here is potentially edible, but it does also grow lots of other molds. Completely up to you. They're not dangerous. You can eat or you can cut the rind off.
It's quite sticky, the rind, isn't it? That's classic of a washed rind, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And as we're looking at the cheese, how beautiful is that gloss on the texture?
Yeah, it's catching the light here. I noticed that straight away.
Yeah,
lovely.
absolutely beautiful.
So smooth.
And also under the rind, there is a little bit of a cream line again.
There is, yeah. We've got a squidge going on here. Yeah.
Fabulous. Let's smell it. Kind of tangy.
Slightly yeasty.
Yeasty. I love that. Yeah. Sour, creamy. Yeah.
Sour cream. Good shout.
Let's taste it. That glossy texture definitely translates on the palate very nicely. So beautifully smooth.
I really like the rind with it. It adds a nice kind of contrast to the texture of it.
A little crunch. Yeah. I love that base though. It's just so smooth. So personally, I would call this cheese a semi-firm cheese. So Latour, we could spread with a knife. That would be soft, even though it's not runny at this stage anyway. Taleggio keeps its shape a little bit better. As you can see, it's sitting here. It's not running away. And with a knife, I think you could try to spread it, but it wouldn't be very easy. Absolutely amazing cheese. I know a lot of people like to cook with taleggio. There's some famous recipe that I've heard of with chicken and taleggio stuffed into it. Haven't tried it myself yet, but maybe you could try that at home. In terms of wine, what are we thinking here?
A little trickier because of the washed rind and I'm thinking something aromatic, something. I'm leaning more towards white than I am red. Although I guess you could do something very light and fruity from a red point of view, but what would you suggest white wise? I'm
thinking let's go classic Italian Pinot Grigio. That's probably the obvious choice here. We still stay in regional and within the same country. Yeah, personally I wouldn't have maybe a red wine here unless it's very, very light. White wine for Taleggio. Lovely. Let's move on to our third cheese. Now, this could take a few hours if we were really to deep dive into this cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano. I mean, who doesn't know Parmigiano Reggiano? That is such a classic.
Yes.
But at the same time, I personally feel there's a little bit of a or underappreciation going on of Parmigiano, because it's so ubiquitous, it's everywhere, you can buy in supermarkets today. People forget what actually real Parmigiano could be like, and how we should enjoy it, and what makes it unique. This cheese has a 900 plus year long history. It's that important in Italian cuisine. It was invented by monks. They were trying to come up with a way of preserving milk to last them through the colder months and just to sustain everybody in the monastery. Now, because it is so imitated today, there is a lot of laws and regulations around making proper Parmigiano. So it is the only Italian cheese that has to be matured for a minimum of 12 months. So this Parmigiano is matured for 40 months.
40 months, okay.
Isn't that incredible?
That is pretty incredible.
It is pretty incredible. And along the way, all Parmigiano wheels get tested. So they get tested at 12 months, first of all, to separate the really great wheels from the ones that maybe won't even be labeled Parmigiano. And then the really, really good ones get matured for much longer. So in this case, 40 months.
And you've matured this one here?
We matured it for a little bit. We
Longer,
received it, oh gosh, now I'll be testing my memory. But yeah, we kept it for a little while here, but the majority was done by the consortium. Aroma. Fruity. Nutty.
Slight sweetness.
Very, very complex. The rind, of course, has a little bit of, it's a hard rind. Personally, I tend not to eat that. Yeah. But the great thing about Parmigiano rind, it can be used in cooking. I know many people use it for making soups, and it just creates a fantastic stock. So in terms of texture, because this Parmigiano is so mature, it's hard. Like, I don't have any give on my piece of cheese.
No, none whatsoever.
No. But like you mentioned before, it's crumbly, which is typical of Parmigiano. There's a style of cheese that Italy makes called grana cheeses, and Parmigiano is obviously the poster child for that style. But there's also grana padano, which is made in Parmigiano's image, but a lot more affordable. So if you're looking for a cheap alternative to Parmigiano, grana padano. But the real thing, the one and only, is the amazing Parmigiano Reggiano.
The crunch of those crystals is just phenomenal.
And just kind of the flavor explodes in your mouth.
Yeah, super complex.
I do get a lot of fruitiness.
Yes, that needs a super complex wine to go with it, I think.
What color would you prefer?
I'm definitely going red this time.
Yeah?
Yes, something full-bodied, something Italian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Amoroni, Barolo, Chianti.
You could do that.
Strong.
You could do that. I mean, it depends on where in your day or evening you're enjoying the cheese. If you want, if you are closer to the end of the night, yes, you could go kind of with a heavier red. A nice fruity red, though, would be nice as well, because we say this cheese has a bit of fruitiness.
Definitely.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, explore and experiment. I think even more full-bodied white, like an oaked Chardonnay, I could see that working.
Yes, that would work really well.
Like a Californian Chardonnay. That would be nice.
Yeah.
So experiment and see what works for you at home. So an incredible cheese, give it a try. I know it's readily available in supermarkets. That's probably really good and convenient for cooking, but if you want to appreciate the flavor, the aroma, get Parmigiano also out of a specialist cheese shop, because it will be cut from the wheel. It will have all of its absolutely amazing flavor and aroma still locked in, and you may have a completely different experience. That's what I find anyway. Okay, now swiftly on to our fourth cheese. We're going down to Sardinia. Well, this was actually the middle of Italy, so Emilia-Romagna. Now we're going all the way south to Sardinia. Beautiful, absolutely stunning part of Italy, obviously on an island. A lot of people know it for beach holidays, but if you venture into the island, you'll find out how rugged and mountainous it is, and a lot of traditions still being preserved, and especially in terms of sheep herding. They do have loads and loads of sheep inside the island, and that's really a millennia old tradition. And the predecessor to this cheese, Fiore Sardo, is believed to have existed since the Bronze Age.
Wow.
So, and now pecorino, I think it's worth spending some time explaining what pecorino is, because I think a lot of people I find think pecorino is just one cheese. Well, in fact, it is a whole family of cheeses. So in Italian language, pecora means sheep. So pecora is a sheep, and pecorino is any cheese made with sheep's milk, and that is from Italy. So we have hundreds, if not thousands, of different pecorinos in existence, and they can be different age. They can be different, wrought with different things on the outside. They can be from different regions. So therefore, usually the second part of the name will tell you a little bit more. So this is Pecorino Sardo, meaning it's from Sardinia. We can have Pecorino Nero, which is kind of rubbed with something black on the outside, or there's ones with paprika, with olives, all sorts of things. Right. So now let's start looking at our Pecorino Sardo.
Yes. The colour of it straight away, well, it makes you think it's something different. So it's sheep's, right?
Yeah.
Firm
It is actually amazing, though. I do find usually sheep's milk being a bit lighter than cow's milk cheeses, and they tend to be kind of more ivory. With Pecorino Sardo, it is a remarkably yellow.
Yes.
Which is very likely highlighting the fact that sheep do spend time on the grass. So that's my theory anyway. And in terms of texture?
Yeah, it's fairly firm. You can, it looks like it is very crumbly.
Yeah. There's a tiny bit more give than we had on the Parmigiano.
Yes.
So I would say that's firm, but definitely crumbly.
Yeah, there's a few crystals in there as well. It just smells so fruity. Slightly nutty.
And I love that sweetness. You know what it reminds me of as well? I've been trying to pinpoint this aroma for a long time. I think it reminds me of boiled potatoes.
Okay.
That sweetness of boiled potatoes. There's that pleasing, soothing kind of thing going on.
Right. It's the buttery on the boiled potatoes. That's what.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
When I've tasted it now, that's come to life.
On the palate, you can definitely see that it has that crumbly, gritty thing going on. That's why both of these cheeses are actually great for grating into your Italian dishes. But not only that, they are amazing with a glass of wine. So it's not one use, it's multi-use for these cheeses. They're absolutely amazing and versatile. Definitely sweetness, definitely the crunch on the teeth. Complex. The rind is a little bit, I think they covered with a very fine layer of something waxy, but in the beginning of maturation, they also rub it with olive oil. So therefore, the rind is completely up to you whether you're going to eat it or not. I personally tend to cut it off. I think the cheese inside is so much more spectacular. And for wine, I'm definitely thinking red is just where my brain goes with sheep's milk cheeses. How about you, Holly?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that too. I think that would work really well.
Yeah. So maybe a Sardinian red, maybe a Chianti. So something not too light. This cheese is complex and mature. So yeah, definitely try it with a red. White, maybe not so much. No. Okay, so and now we will move on to our last cheese, but we're actually gonna try two different cheeses. Well, I'll explain. We're gonna discuss Gorgonzola. So Gorgonzola is another centuries-old cheese from Italy. And if we were to teleport ourselves and transport ourselves a few centuries back, actually Gorgonzola would look like this. Gorgonzola used to be one type of cheese back in the day, and it used to be firm and kind of strong and complex. So, but then in the 1950s, the Gorgonzola producers decided to make it appeal to more of a wider market, and they created a new variety, and they called it Gorgonzola Dolce, which is what we've got here on the cracker. We didn't put it here on the board because it would be just everywhere as a puddle. But as you can see, even comparing my little piece of Gorgonzola on the cracker with this Gorgonzola that's standing up, it's got hardly any blue veining that's noticeable. So that's the trick. The mold in Gorgonzola Dolce is much more mellow. It's aged for a shorter period of time. And this is a great blue cheese kind of introduction. An entry blue cheese. If you're not sure about strong blue cheeses, Gorgonzola Dolce is always the way to go. On the rind, it is smelly. And that's what some people confuse with it being a strong cheese. Some people think Gorgonzola Dolce is a strong cheese, which I find fascinating. It's more the smell on the rind. It's similar to Taleggio. It's washed during maturation that way. But inside, in terms of bite, it's very mellow.
Yeah, it's so creamy.
So creamy.
Slight sweetness.
The piece doesn't actually smell very strong, even if we were to compare it to other blue cheeses. Yeah, it's just the rind that makes it a bit smelly.
Although there's not many blue veins through it, it does add that interesting texture throughout when you do eat it.
It does have that umami flavor, doesn't it? Nutty, creamy, delicious. Scoopable. It's often sold by scoop in Italy. Now, let's go back to our Gorgonzola Piccante. So now, when they created Gorgonzola Dolce, they needed somehow to distinguish it from the Dolce, and therefore the original kind is now called Piccante, or sometimes it's called Mountain Gorgonzola. So that's the stronger, more complex variety. We do have our little pieces here, and you can see this piece has much more blue veining. It's kind of firmer looking, but on the palate it is creamy. I would say it's mushroomy in terms of aroma, quite pronounced mushroom note for me there. And of course on the rind it will be smelly as well. And it goes. Definitely a notch up in strength. I personally still wouldn't call it a really strong blue cheese. For me, it's on the medium side of the spectrum, but much more complex. So while Gorgonzola Dolce, we could potentially have even with white wine or sparkling wine, because it's so mellow. Gorgonzola Piccante, what do you think?
Could you venture into red territory with that?
Yeah. Definitely red, and I would go either really kind of full-bodied red, like Amarone. Bonsanto is a great option. That's from Italy as well, or maybe even a port.
Slightly.
Yes, so instead of your Stilton and a port, you could do Gorgonzola Piccante in port. So, Holly,
you're going to make me choose, aren't you?
I'm going to ask you if you had a favorite. I mean, obviously we love them all, and it's a really hard choice. For me, it depends really on the mood. It depends on the wine.
Depends on the occasion and what you're... I mean, this always sells me. But, I mean, the appreciation I have for the Parmesan as well is just next level. But the Gorgonzola Dolce...
I just think they work together as a board as well. So if you want a nice Italian, well-balanced cheese board, you could just copy what we've got here. You've got a soft and moussey one. You've got a semi-firm washed rind. You've got a nice mature Parmigiano and a Pecorino, so cows and sheeps. And you finish with a nice medium-strength blue. Or if your preference is a lighter blue, you could do Gorgonzola Dolce. So I'm just going to stay on... in that position. I'm just going to say I love them all.
You're going to stay on the fence and say you're going to have them all.
I'm going to stay on the fence. Of course, like you say, Parmigiano is just another level. the attention to detail, the tradition that they managed to keep just deserves hats off and appreciation and savoring of every bite of this phenomenal cheese.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, everybody at home. We hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a like, give us a follow, and of course, let us know in the comments if you tasted along at home, if you had a favorite. And we look forward to seeing you on the next delicious journey next time.